Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am. Ranjit Kumar Agarwal sir, President ICAI. Anil Kumar Yadav sir, Regional Council member. Naveen Sharma sir, Chairman, Secretary ICAI, and Vijay Agarwal ji.
Strong reform measures initiated by Ministry of Finance laid the foundation of a solid economic growth with a consistent history of 10 to 12% CAGR. India is now the 5th largest equity market. Over the 10 years, India's GDP has grown by approximately 7%.
And over the next 3 years, India's GDP will likely to touch USD 5 trillion, making it the 3rd largest economy by 2027, overtaking Japan and Germany. India, being the fastest growing large economy with the tailwinds of demographic, improving institution strength and improvement in governance, we request our Honorable Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am for her enlightening deliberation to all of us. Please have a huge round of applause for respected Nirmala Sitharaman ma'am.
Namaskar. Good morning to all of you. Chartered Accountant Ranjit Kumar Agarwal, the President of ICAI. Advocate Sanjay Jhavarji, Justice Bhandari, and all dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries and the elite of Jaipur who have come over for this meeting. I'm really privileged to stand here in the land of warriors, most of whom have been great source of inspiration for all Indians, be it Prithviraj Chauhan, Maharana Pratap, Rana Sanga, Maharaja Savai Jai Singh, Savai Man Singh, Amar Singh, Rana Harit Singh, have all stood for a great India, sacrificed themselves for it. So I bow my head with great respect to this land of warriors who literally stood like a big fort in the borders of this country. Even today in the armed forces, you have a great number of people from Rajasthan who defend our country, not so much in the deserts, but also in high altitude mountains, snow-capped peaks, and even in the borders with Myanmar, the tropical jungles. So I pay my respects also to the armed forces, which is represented adequately by people from Rajasthan. Durga Ashtami has been referred to in the welcome address. It's Vasanta Navaratri period. We worship Shakti, all right, but on the Navami day it is going to be all Ayodhya. After several decades, several centuries, Sri Ram has found a Bhavya Mandir where he should have been. Where he should have resided, and as you say in Rajasthan, Virajman in that holy, beautiful Bhavya Mandir forever, for always. But unfortunately, he hadn't had a place to be except for a tent. And that literally tugged at the heart of every Indian. And today, when he's got his due place, we all will celebrate this first Ram Navami with our Lord being in the right place. And with the Pran Pratishtha of Sri Ram, all of us can hope, and I'm sure we'll realize our dreams. The golden era of India will start. It starts with an Amrit Kaal. The Viksit Bharat of 2047 hopefully will be achieved with Sabka Prayas. And in that, the intellectuals, the knowledge torchbearers of India, who largely reside in Rajasthan, will have a big role to play. And I'm happy to start my campaign in Rajasthan addressing the intellectuals. It is this optimism which Prime Minister Modi has brought into a country which had given up all its hopes. In 2013-14, irrespective of party affiliation, no one could hide the fact that you were not sure where we were going. Fragile five we were. Capital was getting out of the country. Not just those foreign direct investments which had come, but even our India's own businesses, big businesses, were shifting their balance sheet to outside of India than remain in India. That was 13-14. And your party loyalties couldn't have hidden this fact from you, so you didn't have to be in the opposition, as BJP was at that time, to realize that the country has come to nowhere. And that was 2013-14. But from there, in fact, one of the things which I said in the parliament, when I released the white paper on the Indian economy, 10 long years after, duly when people said you should have released it in 2013-14, why are you releasing it now? I, in all my modesty, appreciate the Honorable Prime Minister for having not released it in 2014. It's such a story that today we look back with a sense of confidence, saying it's all right, we were, fragile five. These many number of scams had happened. Scams by themselves are wrong, but each one of the scam had created a collateral damage to the economy, and shortage of coal would have resulted in 72 hours of blackout in the western part of India at that time. Or shortage of coal would have left many of the thermal producing companies, thermal producing public sector undertakings also without power and so on. But the fact is, today we are looking back with confidence because in the 10 years, the economy had been restored with tremendous effort, transparent effort, with not a whisper of corruption and a complete dedication shown by the Honorable Prime Minister. So if we are at a stage where even a white paper which would have sounded, how can I put it? A white paper, if released in 2014, would have sounded only a sense of hopelessness in this country. It would have established the fear that something has gone wrong, we don't know how deep the problem is, and can we ever come out of this? That would have been the sum and substance of people reading a white paper in 2014 would have been. So reading it in 14 would have left India even further into a confusion, into hopelessness, and a disbelief that we can ever revive. So the levels of scandal, the extent of scandal, the scope and size of the scandal, all of which gave a message to the Indians that even as you were reading it in the media, it made you think, what has been so badly handled? Can it ever be restored? So releasing it 10 years afterwards, it actually tells you what it was then and what kind of effort it took for us to come back to being the 5th largest economy. Even as we say 5th largest economy, we are sure that within a few years, maybe just 1.5 to 2 years, we will reach the 3rd largest economy. So I would think it was totally responsible of Prime Minister Modi, a very responsible, caring decision of Prime Minister Modi, that he didn't release that white paper then, but released it now to say why today India is where it is, despite that negativity. Today there is no negativity, there is hope, there is positivity, there is this almost certainty in everybody's mind. ठीक है, अभी हम आगे बढ़ेंगे. That is a responsible leader's decision-making power, that he did not want to expose his opponent for short-term gains, but he took a call that he will restore the economy and then yet put the facts on the table of the House. That is why the white paper came much later than when it was expected by a large number of people. Now today, the third quarter of 23-24 saw an unprecedented growth of 8.4%. Unprecedented in the world history. And why am I saying world history? I'm not comparing years, decades before, centuries before, but I'm still using the word history. Because in today's volatility, not one war, two wars, and yesterday probably a third war, if I may call it that. I don't wish the war, I want peace to prevail, but I'm saying a third incident of something going wrong. Disruption in high seas, pirates in the Red Sea, disruption in global high seas means your trade and traffic of goods, movement of goods are all unpredictably affected. West Asia is the source of maximum crude coming to India. Of course, we have strategically, during the COVID times and immediately after that, also started buying from Russia because it was coming at a discount. It was in our national interest to do that. We started obtaining it. So if 8.4 growth in a quarter in the year 23-24 can happen, it just shows how much Indians are waiting to grow and move faster to achieve greater goals. And if the fourth quarter is lucky and we get a good number, I'm sure we'll average out at 8 for the overall 23-24 growth. And I would think, if not at 8, it is possible to sustain a good high growth in India, because the entire ground has been created for every entrepreneur to feel that this is the best time for him or her to come out and undertake responsibilities. So, I do not want to reel out the passenger vehicle sales, tractor sales to prove that the economy is moving all right. It will not be moving all right if only the economy is not rightly positioned. But that one indicator which comes out every month is today used like a barometer. You're just reading the economy using that every month. And that was not a luxury which was available earlier. Now it is available post GST's introduction by this government. And after the introduction, even if the first few years they had a lot more of teething problem, today it is stabilized. Of course, there's need for us to further rationalize, further simplify the GST. But even today, it is giving us that one indicator with businesses, chartered accountants, economy observers, all will be waiting to see ye kya hone wale hai is mahina, GST collection. Are you not waiting for it every month? Yes. Every month on the first, we look forward to knowing what is the number. And once you know that the number is really on the uptick, you know the economy is doing well. Then everybody sits up saying, chalo, aur aage. So today the economy's measurements don't have to wait for the data to come from which sector, what. You know, overall, the GST returns tell you that every small, medium and big business is doing all right if the collection is all right. The collection is not just all right, it is doing very well. And now, after the election, the way in which the BJP's Sankalp Patra is already speaking about, further reforms will be taken up. One such a thing, of course, the GST Council will have to take a call, is to look at rationalizing the rates, making it far more simpler, looking at bringing rates reasonably for all goods. Of course, India is a country with wide disparity in income. We can't afford to have people paying the same rate for extreme luxury goods as much as daily essentials. So some common sense logic will have to prevail, and people will have to sit in the council and think about it, and I'm sure those activities will happen. But there are opportunity for industry, there are opportunity for MSMEs, largely because the way in which we envisage the economy, Indian economy, is even if there is one mother unit, there should be around it a lot of small and other supplementary, what used to be called as ancillary units. We need that ecosystem for every major production. If 6G is going to be rolled out, 5G is successfully rolled out, we need the ecosystem to produce and support these kind of major producing or manufacturing units in India. If 600 or more than that, nearly 1,000 aircrafts are going to be coming into India to join into the civil aviation fleet, the maintenance, the repair and operations of these aircrafts will also need manpower, will also need technical manpower, and their accounting processes will also need your support. So there is ever so many opportunity for businesses to grow. Chartered accountants themselves have so much to update, and I'm glad that Ranjit Kumar Agarwal, the Chartered Accountant President of ICAI, is a very reform-minded person. He's brought in a lot more steps to enable more and more students to qualify. I would only want to underline the fact that we have undertaken signing of MOUs with a lot of countries. With that, mutual recognition of qualifications are completely possible. There can be exchange of professionals between the countries with whom we are signing these MOUs. I am very convinced that that is going to benefit chartered accountants in a very big way. You're already forming groups to be able to globally work as outsourced centers. There was somebody who received the award and a recognition for running the largest such an outsourcing place. You've set the trend, we are signing it with other countries. Good luck to such people who have taken these initiatives. And very glad to see Rajasthan standing out in this. There were several things that I wanted to talk about. The profession itself, where you're doing a lot of internal introspection on how best the practices can be, how you can make your accounting standards meet up with global standards, and how you can ready all members of the ICAI to be savvy to handle these technology-driven accounting times of our era. I even tell the entire board, the Direct Taxation Board and the CBIC, that the technology that they use is not for technology per se. The technology that they use is an instrument for making life easier. So it should have the right content of what an assessee is looking for. It can't just be a technically I've done the job, but the assessee knows that it's not meeting his requirements. The chartered accountant knows that it is not up to the mark. So I always tell the boards that if they do have their own expertise, or if they're commissioning an agency to do the work of getting the technology for them, it should be suffused with people from the profession, from the chartered accountants, from the cost accountants, to come and assess if it is going to adapt to the requirements, so that compliance becomes not complicated but simple. So more and more chartered accountants and their engagement with the boards, I would think, will make systems easier. It will make life easier for taxpayers. It will make it a lot more savvy for the profession to say today I'm giving my knowledge component, but the monotony of my job is taken away because of technology coming in. So in summary, that is exactly what I want to say to you, and this is what the Prime Minister is hoping, that India will be knowledge driven. Areas like tourism, particularly standing in Rajasthan, which stands out for tourism, will be one of those big job-giving areas. A lot of emphasis is being given in the manifesto for youth, for tourism, for technology-driven growth, for artificial intelligence and Internet of Things, so that we are able to bring greater transparency into the processes and decision making. So with these words, knowing that there is an interaction, I will not take too much time for a monologue. I leave it for you all to have the interaction conducted so I can respond to some of your questions. Thank you.
जयपुर वाले मैडम के बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया गुजार हैं कि इस टाइम में जब कितना बिजी शेड्यूल चल रहा है, उस टाइम में भी मैडम टाइम निकाल के आई है और हमारे साथ में है, और जिस हालातों में अपना देश आगे बढ़ रहा है उसमें हमारे साथ अपने व्यूज़ शेयर करेंगी। मैम, मेरे को अच्छी तरह याद है कि 16 अप्रैल 2020 में इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ICAI में एक प्रोग्राम था, जबकि आपको 7 बजे आके वर्चुअल एक प्रोग्राम को इनोग्रेट करना था, और आप करीब 50 मिनट पहले आ गए थे, और हमको सौभाग्य मिला था कि करीब 50 मिनट हम आपके साथ प्रोग्राम के पहले आपके साथ इंटरेक्शन किया था हम लोगों ने। एंड फ्रेंड्स, बिलीव कीजिए कि जो लोग जानते हैं और जानेंगे मैडम को, वो मैडम की सादगी के लिए कोई इमेजिन भी नहीं कर सकता कि कोई इतना सादगी से इस पोजीशन में रहने वाला कोई इंसान हो सकता है। मैम, जो डिजिटाइजेशन में आपने काम किया है, जो फेसलेस असेसमेंट का काम किया है, जो न्यू इनकम टैक्स पोर्टल आपने लॉन्च किया है, और जो सारे टैक्स जो सिम्प्लिफिकेशन किए हैं, और जिस तरह से आपने कोविड पीरियड में इस देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को संभाला है, बहुत ही काबिल है। सब लोग इसके लिए आपको बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया गुजार हैं। और जिस तरह से हमारा देश अभी वर्ल्ड की 5th लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी बन गया है, जो कि 3.6 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी में है, और बहुत जल्दी हम 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी में पहुंच जाएंगे, तो बहुत बहुत आपको हमारे सब की तरफ से धन्यवाद। और हम अश्योर कर सकते हैं कि हमारे लेवल पे हम जो भी कुछ करना चाहेंगे, जो आप कहेंगे, उस डायरेक्शन में हम पूरी करने की कोशिश करेंगे। फ्रेंड्स, आज हमारे साथ में जो वर्ल्ड की जो लार्जेस्ट अकाउंटिंग बॉडी है, दैट इज़ द इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ऑफ इंडिया, उनके प्रेसिडेंट हमारे साथ में है रंजीत अग्रवाल जी, जो कि ओरिजिनली राजस्थान को ही बिलोंग करते हैं, लेकिन अब कलकत्ता में बसे हुए हैं, और इन्हों को चार्ज लिए अभी 2 महीने हुए हैं। लेकिन कुछ प्रेसिडेंट ऐसे आए हैं हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट में जिनको कि हम लोग हमेशा याद करेंगे। यदि आपने कंसेप्ट सुना हो यूडिन का, कि आज की डेट में कोई भी चार्ट अकाउंटेंट कोई भी चीज़ सर्टिफाई करता है और कोई बैलेंस शीट साइन करता है, तो उसको यूडिन के थ्रू करना होता है। वो कंसेप्ट रंजीत जी की देन है, और इस देश में ही नहीं, सारे दूसरे देश हैं, वो लोग हमारे इस टेक्निक को ले रहे हैं। फ्रेंड्स, हम इस साल 75 साल कंप्लीट करेंगे सी इंस्टीट्यूट के, और 75 साल से हमेशा जो नॉर्म्स थी कि सीए के एग्जाम्स एक साल में 2 बार होते थे, लेकिन इन सारी टेक्निकल कंडीशंस को समझते हुए, टेक्नोलॉजिकली चेंजेस को समझते हुए, इन्होंने आते ही एक बहुत मेजर डिसीजन लिया है, जिससे कि सीए प्रोफेशन में बहुत बड़ा इफेक्ट आएगा। अब जो फाउंडेशन और इंटरमीडिएट के जो कोर्स होगा, वो कोर्स के एग्ज़ाम एक साल में 3 बार होंगे, जिससे कि हमारे से बहुत जल्दी आगे बढ़ेंगे। मैं ज़्यादा समय नहीं लूँगा, और जो रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा, जो कि हम खास करके धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा RCA फाउंडेशन के जो ट्रस्टीज़ हैं, उन लोगों को जिन्होंने इस प्रोग्राम को ऑर्गेनाइज़ किया। और छोटा सा आपको भी बताना चाहूँगा मैं कि RCA फाउंडेशन में हम लोग जो CA प्रोफेशन से रिलेटेड बहुत सारे सेमिनार, वर्कशॉप, डिफरेंट कॉन्फ्रेंसेज ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं मेंबर्स की नॉलेज को बढ़ाने के लिए। साथ में एक उदय हॉस्टल के नाम से एक हॉस्टल चलाते हैं, जिसमें कि इकोनॉमिकली चैलेंज बच्चा फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट होता है, और दूसरे बच्चे नो प्रॉफिट नो लॉस पे होते हैं। अभी तक में हम लगभग करीब हमारे हॉस्टल से 1200 से ज़्यादा बच्चे CA बन के निकल चुके हैं। मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा मनीष भंडारी जी को, राजीव सुभानी जी को, जो कि बिजी शेड्यूल में होते हुए भी यहाँ आके उन्होंने हमारे इस शो की गरिमा बढ़ाई और हम सब लोगों के साथ इंटरेक्ट किया। मैं फेल होऊंगा मेरी ड्यूटीज़ में यदि अनिल यादव जी, मोहित गुप्ता, लोकेश कासट, नवीन शर्मा, विष्णु अग्रवाल, रुचि गुप्ता, विजय अग्रवाल, अंकुर गुप्ता, विकास यादव और किशन शर्मा जी का, जिन्होंने कि रात दिन लग के इस प्रोग्राम को सफल बनाने में पूरी अपने जी जान लगा दिया। और अंत में मुझे पता नहीं कि मेरे को कहना चाहिए या नहीं कहना चाहिए कि जो एज यूजुअल संजय झंवर जी का पूरा ऑफिस जो लगा रहा, उनको ये लगता है कि हमारे तो बिल्कुल पार्टी है, और फिर भी मैं इस मौके पे बताना चाहूँगा कि जब संजय झंवर जी का पूरा ऑफिस 3 दिन से रात दिन इस प्रोग्राम के लिए लगा हुआ था, तो तहे दिल से उनको भी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया और धन्यवाद। जो इतनी सारी एसोसिएशंस हमारे साथ में हैं, जिन्होंने सब में हमारा साथ दिया और हमारे साथ में हैं, आप सब लोगों का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। थैंक यू, थैंक्स अ लॉट।
Thank you, sir, for sharing your experience with us. Now I request Advocate Sanjay Jawar, Senior Advocate, Rajasthan High Court, and Trustee.
The most experienced Finance Minister of India, presented 6 budgets, very fiery legislator, as we have seen in Parliament, attacking the opposition, a visionary economist, ambassador of fiscal discipline, as we are looking at the budgets from year to year. And before that, before seeing him as finance minister, we have seen her as defense minister when India did Balakot, the Balakot airstrike. We have seen you in all the roles, ma'am, and what a pleasant day that today is Durga Ashtami and we are welcoming you here. The day when we worship Devi and we get an opportunity to welcome you in the state of Rajasthan at Jaipur. Ma'am, before you came, we had a very wonderful technical session so that we can ask you some questions at the end of your session. And that was being chaired by Justice Manish Bhandari, who is sitting just in front of you. Is now heading, you are already aware, chairing the appellate tribunal of PMLA. And we had the representatives from 4 associations like Jaipur Citizens Forum and TIE Rajasthan, and also youth wing of CII. I was moderating the session and we were discussing several issues as to the roadmap to become developed India and how the Human Development Index, which is the key to become developed India, not only the GDP but the other factors, education and the health. We were discussing those things so that we could raise what is the view of the audience before you, once you finish. There were very important suggestions from all corners, and there were some audience people also who spoke about certain things. But this is not the time. That would come after you finish your presentation. I would like to at this stage welcome you on behalf of everyone present here, and would like to assure you that Rajasthan has tremendous potential. The state which has largest landmass, the state which is known as cultural capital of the country, the state which is known as intellectual capital of the country, and provided CFOs and CEOs to global companies. And yes, we were discussing the industrialists which the state has produced. Maybe they have not set up their industries here, but the state has produced large number of industrialists, and you can name and you know them already. So we would like to hear from you as to what the state can do as a contributor to become a developed nation, how we can contribute, and how the government can facilitate by creating a platform for the intellectuals and entrepreneurs of the state to contribute towards your mission of making India a developed nation by 2047. And at this stage, I would welcome you once again, and we'll see her speaking to all of you after President ICI has already spoken, and after that we'll have a brief question-answer session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay sir, for your words. Now we request President ICAI, C.A. Ranjit Kumar Agarwal sir, for his word of wisdom.
Honorable Finance Minister of our country, who is the only full-time first Lady Finance Minister of our country, and who has shown with his various functions and the kind of physical reform, and also undertaking the physical deficit of last 6 years in a row, and the kind of works he has done, it's a very, very unprecedented, and more so the kind of patience and the kind of reforms he could do at the difficult time of Corona. Madam, your work is unprecedented and remarkable. Thank you very much for coming here. We have our Central Council member Prakash Sharma ji from Jaipur, and he and his team has last 2 weeks has worked so hard just to ensure that all of you can come here and listen to the honorable words of the Honorable Finance Minister. Sanjay Jhawarji, advocate, Mr. Sharma, chairman of the branch, our another Central Council member, Rohit Rwatia from Jaipur, and he is the youngest council member from Jaipur in our Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. We have Justice Manish Bhandari sir, thank you very much. Our government nominee Vijay Jalani ji, and all the professional and different section of the society which we call intellectual. Prabudh Samaj, intellectual work, which all have gathered here. And just to see and listen what is the role and the contribution of the professional in this country, if the government has set some target, and what is our and your role to achieve those targets with our contribution. Madam, just last week, the Institute of Chartered Accountants India got or achieved 4,150,000 members and 9 lakh students, making the ICI out of 182 countries of accounting body, the world largest accounting body in the world. And the interesting point of this number is now out of 4 lakh members, every third chartered accountant in this country, every third CA is a women chartered accountant. And out of 9 lakh students pursuing chartered accountancy, 44% students are girl students pursuing chartered accountancy. So, why I am telling you this number? The kind of interest and the contribution of the women force in our country towards the finance profession, towards the economical activity is never seen in the past, and that's why in last 10 years also, the number of girl students pursuing higher education has increased in an unprecedented way, which has never been happened in before last 10 years. And Madam, if you have seen the budget speech of last year, no this year, last full year budget speech of Madam FM, and she has outlined 7 principles, Sapt Rishi, which will pave the path of this country to become a developed country in 2047, and there were so many green finance, infrastructure, youth power. The one of the most important aspect of this seventh principle was financial service. Now the government is also of the opinion that the financial service is one of the service which will also drive this country to achieve the target of a developed country in 2047. And we all are professionals which are directly or indirectly related to all sort of financial service. And recently, under the leadership of Madam, the ministry has notified what is financial service. She has notified 4 kinds of services: a financial, bookkeeping, accounting, taxation, and compliance of the financial fraud. Now this financial service work, they have set up in the gift city like IFSCA in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. And now, under the leadership of Madam and the Prime Minister, the country can envisage, because of this setup of IFSCA gift city in Gandhinagar, if India can be a leader in the pharmaceutical center, if India can be a leader in the software export. Last year our Prime Minister also met our various experts including the ICI, and he was saying why India cannot be a global hub of the entire accounting function of the world. We have the strength, we have the youth power, we have the technical knowledge, and we have the tech-savvy young population in this country, and they are driving with the various good initiatives and the policy of the government of this India. And if you see the faceless assessment, the ease of doing business and ease of doing profession, both have been structured in such a way that now there was a time when the refunds used to come, takes months and years. Now within 10 days, the refunds have started coming to various SSC in this country. This was also unprecedented. The GST law has come in this country just to make informal economy to formal economy. Insolvency and bankruptcy law has come in this country. In this country, we have limited resources, but unlimited talent. If you are running a company or a factory, and if you are not able to add value to this company or create the resource in the country, you have to leave the company. Some more competent person will come, take over, and create value in the resource of the country, and that's the genesis of insolvency and bankruptcy law in this country. And in the last 6 years, of course, so many changes, so many amendments are coming. It's an evolving law. But last 6 years, whatever resolution plan took place, in all this resolution plan of more than 7-8 lakh crore, 75% of the contribution is made by the finance professional, chartered accountant, cost accountant, companies. And there are so many issues, so many banking reform, insurance sector reform, just the IRD has come out with the new regulation 2024. So the whole objective of this finance professional contribution in this country, the government is doing their job to the best of their ability and capacity. But we call ourselves finance and Prabudh Samaj intellectual world. There is a very not much financial literacy in this country. We have a larger responsibility. On one hand, lot of opportunity has been created in this country through the various schemes of the government. But at the same time, onerous tasks have been imposed on the soldier of the finance professional. When they certify, will verify or authenticate the data in this country, it should be zero defects, foolproof, and only then on your balance sheet signature, your certification, the stakeholders are relying, because the financial literacy has to increase, and we have the larger role not only to avail the opportunity but also to contribute in the growth and development of this country, and we can be a trusted partner of the role and the development that the target the government is set, and we can call ourselves partner in nation building. When 2047, our country will be a developed country of the world. Thank you very much.
from the Institute of Company Secretary of India, we request CS Rajat Doyal, Chairman, and CS Vimal Gupta ji to present a bouquet to ma'am.
I request CMA Harendra Parikh and CMA Rakesh Yadav to present the bouquet to me. I request CA Shailendra Agarwal and CA Kamal Jain from TCA to present the bouquet to me. I request Mr. Sujaram Meel and Mr. P.D. Goyal from 40 to present the bouquet to me.
We request from Thai Rajasthan, Dr. Shenu Jawar and Mr. Mahavir Prasad Sharma to present bouquet to ma'am.
I request Gaurav Bansal and Mr. Mohit Jaju from Young Indians to present the bouquet to me.
From Jaipur Citizen Forum, we welcome Mr. Rajiv Arora and Jai Kishan Jaju ji to present bouquet to ma'am.
I invite CA Naveen Sharma and CA Vikas Yadav to present a shawl to me. I invite CA Anil Kumar Yadav and CA Rokesh Kasar to present a symbol of pride, culture and tradition, Rajasthani Safa to me. President ICI, CA Ranjit Kumar Agarwal sir and CA Prakash Sharma sir to present a memento to Honorable Finance Minister.
We will also like to mark the presence of President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, CA Ranjit Kumar Agarwal sir. I request Chairman Jaipur Branch, CA Naveen Sharma ji, to welcome President ICAR by presenting him a bouquet.
I request CA Anil Kumar Yadav and CA Prakash Sharma sir to present Safa and shawl to Ranjit Agarwal ji. I request Anil sir and Prakash sir to present I request Naveen Sharma ji, Anil Yadav ji and Prakash Sharma sir to present a memento to Ranjit Agarwal.
नीचे हट जाएंगे लगाओ यार
Today in the intellectual meet, we have galaxy of professions who have been appointed as independent director of various banks.
We request our guests to felicitate them. I invite CA Vijay Thalani ji, Government Nominee, Central Council Member, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Jaipur.
आप आगे आ जाइए ये खाली है देखिए ये खाली है आप आ जाइए
Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. CA Satish Sareen, former Independent Director, Rights Limited.
हेलो हाँ जी
CA Shankar Lal Agarwal, Independent Director, Punjab and Sindh.
CA Priyavrat Sharma ji, Independent Director, Central Bank of India. CA Dharmender Shekhawat sir, Independent Director, Central Bank, State Bank of India. CA Pankaj Joshi sir, Independent Director, Punjab National Bank. We would also like to mark presence of CA Anil Agarwal sir, MD, NAV Back Office, with more than 1500 chartered accountants working in his team.
We also want to recognize the personalities who are continuously working day and night for the profession. It's times for Excellence Awards for commendable contribution in the profession and services. We would like to facilitate CA Lokesh Kasat, past chairman, Jaipur branch of ICI. CA Ruchi Gupta, treasurer, Jaipur branch of ICI. CA Vishnu Agarwal, past chairman, Jaipur branch of ICI. CA Vijay Kumar Agarwal, secretary, Jaipur branch of ICI. CA Ankur Kumar Gupta, chairman Sikasa, Jaipur branch of ICI. Thank you, ma'am.
It's our honor, ma'am. Now we request our program director, CA Prakash Sharma sir, trustee, Rajasthan Chartered Accountant Foundation, and Central Council member ICI for welcome address.
Respected Honorable Finance Minister of India, Nirmala Sitharaman, Honorable respected President of ICAI, Ranjit Agarwal ji, Manish Bhandari ji, trustees of RCA Foundation, my council colleague Vijay ji, Rohit ji, Anil Yadav ji, Chairman of Jaipur branch and his entire team, Chairman of Company Secretary and his team, Chairman of ICAA and his team, President of TCA and his team, President of Team TIA and her team, President of 40 and their team, President of Youth Wing of CII and their team, President of Jaipur Citizen Forum and his team, officials of different government organizations, directors of different banks and all participants. आप सबका इस प्रोग्राम में बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। हम
First of all, I'm thankful for covering a macro view of the roadmap to developed nation, making India a developed nation, and how the government and you personally are working for that. I'll straightway come to some of the issues which have been raised and been received from the audience. The first issue, Honorable Member, is regarding this new 43B clause H. And you know, because you have been moving around the country and this is the problem which is there throughout the country. The feeling is that perhaps the intent was to give the benefit to the micro and small, but the consequence is otherwise, as they are losing business and people or the large industries are not liking buying from them because of this additional burden is one aspect. And second, which was raised during panel discussion, was that why government is using income tax law to define how people should do businesses. For conduct of business, you have several other things. In income tax law, through insertion of this provision, he is to work out his working capital. That now I can do this business only when I have this much of working capital that I can pay everyone in 45 days. No matter my export proceeds, RBI allows me 6 months, but I have to pay in 45 days. So many businesses, either they'll be out or they are seeing that perhaps government wanted to help them. It is becoming counterproductive. So whether there is any thought of addressing this and how the government is thinking about this?
I didn't think I'd have to answer a question which is going to bring my typical nature out. I hope you got what I'm saying. I'm accused of speaking bluntly. So pardon me if I sound blunt.
Yes.
Paying MSME within 45 days. I didn't bring it through the Finance Act. It wasn't brought through the Income Tax Act. See, sometimes I feel, and now I feel that, I'm talking to people who know it but who don't want to admit it. You all know it, but for some reason you don't want to admit. The MSME Act for 8 years has said pay within 45 days. We all looked the other way because nobody was paying within 45 days. It's a law. And the MSME groups were constantly pounding the government saying, nobody is obeying that, will you not help us? And during the year 22-23, a senior minister in the cabinet, Shri Nitin Gadkari ji, had very clearly voiced his concern, saying something like, I don't know the exact number he said, but very big, 7 lakh crores is spending for the MSMEs. God knows who's not paying, what's happening. I immediately got my department to, together, and I said, please, let's go threadbare into this. Where are the pendencies? Who's sitting over payments for MSME? I invited each one of the public sector undertaking and said, put your account before me. Tell me how many MSMEs you've not paid. So 22-23, week on week I was doing only this and exerted as much as I could to say clear your dues within 45 days, and after that, that cycle should continue. Newer bills, newer 45 days and so on. But even then I put total 7 lakh crores. Maybe it was with the state governments or state held public sector undertakings. Over. Then I literally went back to those people who said, 45 days, no payment, you're not doing anything. I said, Bhaiya, I've done this review. As much as possible, we are now clearing it. And then if states are holding it back or private sector companies are holding it back, I wouldn't know anything about it. And I can't put pressure on them, except the fact that it is a law, they are not obeying. Rightly, people who are waiting for money to come in time, tendency would be, Arey, but Sarkar kuch nahi kar pa rahe. We ask them, give us solutions, give us suggestions how to go about it. MSMEs themselves suggested to us that they don't pay within 45 days, they don't even pay within that financial year. They pay probably the next financial year or sometimes even afterwards. But they take fiscal benefit because they show it as expenditure. So they themselves, the MSME themselves gave that thought to us. Saying जो MSME कानून में जो 45 days है उससे फायदा नहीं है. Brazenly it's being violated. मगर ये जब गलती हो रही है, फाइनेंशियल ईयर के अंदर भी पेमेंट जब नहीं हो रही, आप क्या करने वाले हैं? So we have not denied anything to you, to your clients. We've said the year you pay, you claim that as expenditure. The benefit is still accruing to you, but accrue it will that year when you pay. उतना ही तो किया, क्या बवाल मचा दिया भाई. और ठीक है, vote on account this time. Did I bring this during the vote on account? No. Budget 23-24, 1st February 2023. 1 year whole passes quietly. Suddenly rightly, client's interest is important. Suddenly some chartered accountant said, ये क्या हो गया भाई साहब, इस साल तो आपके अकाउंट में. So the MSME started, the company started, not so much the MSMEs, they said, ठीक है भाई, इनसे कभी नहीं लेना आपसे. So all MSMEs were told, look, we will not buy from you. So MSME के लिए रोना सिर्फ MSME और सरकार. दूसरे MSME से जो खरीद रहे वो भी रोता नहीं है MSME के लिए. There is a moral hazard now. They are saying, we won't take from MSMEs, we'll take it from people who have deep pockets, big industries. आपसे क्या खरीदना है? That argument now is put before me saying, अरे हमसे नहीं खरीद रहे भाई. अरे you give me the solution. So आपसे कौन नहीं खरीद रहा? दूसरा MSME और बड़ा कंपनी. So among buyer and seller, कुछ भी गड़बड़ हो, problem is government. How do I handle this? How do I handle this? Okay, you came. हम नहीं take principle है जी. देख लो जी, कितना अच्छा बोलते हैं ना लोग. It's only me who's very blunt. Everybody else comes and says, नहीं अच्छा तो किया है, no doubt. अच्छा किया है जी, हम भी सिंपैथेटिक हैं, मगर इस साल ना करो. और इस साल ना करो का मतलब क्या है? आप कम से कम वोट ऑन अकाउंट से पहले आते, क्योंकि दिस इज कानून अमेंडेड. I could have gone in and said, okay, this will be implemented from next year or something during the budget. हो गया, वोट ऑन अकाउंट के अगले दिन आए, नहीं आए. After some time, and what is that after some time? This is the election year. Lok Sabha was prorogued. मतलब हो गया, अभी लोक सभा का रेफरेंस है तो नया लोक सभा बैठने के बाद ही. मैं there was one group which met me and said, ordinance ले आओ जी. क्यों? ये तो आपके हाथ में है. I said, हाँ जी, मगर लोक सभा ही नहीं है. Ordinance भी कैसे ले आओ? So, you said one word. Intent सरकार का मदद करने के लिए है, मगर देखो कानून में डालने के लिए सुझाव आया, डाल दिया. अगर वो रूल्स में होता, I could have amended it. No, you want to be sure that you're dictating to the government. हम भी मानते हैं. रूल में डाल दिया तो I would have corrected, but कानून में डाल दिया, I need the house to be there. So that's the story.
Thank you. This was question from income tax. My next question comes from GST. And we all know, government knows that fake bills, fake credits, and the people who supply them, they should be punished. Nobody should be spared. But Because of this 16(2)(c) provision, what's happening is, you are casting the burden of all kind of bona fide purchases also on the buyer as to whether your supplier makes the payment or not. If it doesn't make the payment, then we will not give the credit. Now what's happening because of this, I'll say two problems because of this. People are looking at GST portal, that this supplier is genuine, he has GST number, if they are buying from him, let's say in a purchase they have 50 lakh of GST, they are paying that 50 lakh to him. That person is not depositing in the government, he may be located in one India, one tax, maybe anywhere in Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan is the buyer, Tamil Nadu is the supplier, he's not paying. This fellow doesn't have access to that person. And now government says, because you paid 50 lakh GST to him, but he is not deposited to government, so you again pay 50 lakh to us with interest. So, this first aspect and second aspect is, there is an IBC law, and you very well know. Their government itself comes forward and says that if somebody becomes insolvent, we'll take the hit first. And then the government says that at 50 lakh, which that your supplier was supposed to pay to us, we'll sacrifice, we'll not take from him. They settle in IBC, NCLT says, scheme of resolution finalized, tax department has to compromise this, tax department accept this. But 16(2)(c), this buyer says, because the government compromised, the government has not compromised. Government says, now you have paid 50 to him, now 50 to us, because in their case we have compromised. So is this intended or unintended consequence of something which the government wanted? Because here the buyer has no say in this, the resolution in the hands of vendor, government does as per its own scheme, NCLT finalized, bank would get this, they will do sacrifice of 10 paisa, GST department would do this, and sometimes another peculiar problem, if there is a 2 crore rupees of payment and NCLT passes the scheme that we'll pay 1 crore out of this. Now, nobody knows this 1 crore is which 1 crore, why the amount which I paid is 50 lakhs or somebody else paid, so nobody gets the credit. Is this intended, unintended? That's the question.
Now, there are two parts to this question. The first part relates to you buy something, the example that you took is your supplier is somewhere in Tamil Nadu, you are here. The supplier has not paid his part of the tax, so the board comes to you. See, the larger issue when this decision was taken in the council was, if you as a buyer is not able to track your seller, can the government do it? And for how many people can the government do it? So the GST Council discussed all this and only then took this rasta. So let that remain there. But the other side about how settlements are happening, how IBC is, resolution professionals are settling things, that's a different side of the story but has an impact on this. I agree. So we have to take a picture on this. It can't just always be that you have no contact or no hold over your supplier. But at the same time, can you for each time that you buy a stuff be held responsible? There are legitimate questions here. I don't ignore them. I'm not saying no, I don't care about them. We'll have to have a more comprehensive discussion in the GST Council. But it's also not fair to say I buy one from today, another one I buy from somebody else. So it's not my responsibility. That much if you and your seller relationship is not even clear, the government is just not going to be able to function. As much as you. Can you go on changing your supplier? And will you? And do you? So there are a lot of questions, but the concern is well recognized. It's taken cognizance of. The next GST Council will get into the details.
Thank you. A very small issue on GST is 16(4) invoice. There is a cut-off date, and For first year, the cutoff date was extended to 30th November, realizing the difficulties in the portal and everything. And now the amendment has taken place that forever 30th November would be the date. Only in between 2 years have left. First year, from October it became November. From 22, again it became November forever. But this 18, 19, 19, 20, that remains October. And some people have the 9 days delay and 10 days delay because of the same difficulty that reconciliation is taking place at the vendors' end, or there is some difficulty in filing, and GSTR2 has not been notified. So
I'm sure the council will take a good call on it. They're conscious of it.
thank you. My next question is not from GST but from Rajasthan's perspective. Last. Rajasthan has great potential because it is the largest, has the largest land mass. I've already mentioned several things. And the panel discussed that if the government focuses on a clustered development model for Rajasthan, because Rajasthan is good at several things, then they pointed out 7 or 8 things. Largest oil producing state, edible oil producing state. Similarly, largest millet producing state. And there are several education and healthcare and renewable energy, because 325 days we have a sun which can produce solar power, and mining and service sector. So they pointed out this. So could there be a plan, because every time sometimes the government issue or political issues comes, and now you have double engine Sarkar. So are there any special plans for Rajasthan? Because wherever the potential is there, perhaps Rajasthan can help in making India a developed nation by, if the potential is properly utilized.
There's no doubt, and I will not hesitate to say Rajasthan's potential is underutilized. And that is not just in solar, certainly in rare earths, certainly in edible oil, certainly in millets, and most certainly in tourism also. So it is not a question of having a special package for a state or not for another state. For each one of this, government has already come up with a whole lot of schemes, whole lot of bringing together. And I'll definitely underline the point that states should look for the welfare of its own people and work together with the sector. There are quite a few states who do that, despite having a government run by a different political party. Unfortunately, and I say this with responsibility, unfortunately, the last 5 years in Rajasthan did not put its people's interest on the top. I will take one very important example. When the government, which is now no longer in power, was here, the enthusiasm with which they went ahead without even comprehending the complication in the matter. Oh, we'll restore the old pension scheme. And they promised, they started executing it when their own party's leaders were saying, hey, be careful, don't do this. Himachal Pradesh went ahead announcing copying from Rajasthan and won an election. Rajasthan said, we have implemented it. The contribution made under the new pension scheme, which has gone to the central pool, you give that money back to us. They went to that extent. Did it help Rajasthan? I'm not even talking about other things. Did it help Rajasthan? The same party which executed it here in haste, today does not want to put it in its manifesto when it is contesting the Lok Sabha for the entire country. How morally was it right? Was it in the interest of the people of Rajasthan? And today when your party is being questioned saying, why are you not putting it in your manifesto? You implemented it in Rajasthan. You won an election showing that in Himachal? They say no, it will be premature for us because the central government, under the finance secretary, has come up with a committee to look at OPS and NPS. So this kind of haste with which, for political reasons, a state's larger interest is sacrificed, Rajasthan suffered because of that. There are other 2-3 examples that I can take, only for political reasons. Don't your people matter? People of Rajasthan don't matter. They've elected you to be in power. So whether it is tourism, whether it is energy sector, renewable, whether it is edible oil, whether it is even the crude or rare earths or tourism, nothing can stop Rajasthan from growing. Nothing can stop the young of Rajasthan, who are all coming through wonderful education. Look at the rich what can I say, wealth of chartered accountants who are here. You have every potential to grow and grow rapidly, but you need a government which understands the interest of the state and takes it up with the center and does things. Modi, Prime Minister, is somebody who wants every state to grow. If even one state drags it down, the growth, all India is going to suffer. And Rajasthan doesn't have to suffer given the potential that it has.
Thank you, ma'am. And I organize that indicated that you have rather could not attend this, so I am skipping all of the questions. Thank you very much, and now over to MSS.
I request everyone to have seat, please.
My request.
आएगा तो भाई मोदी